The Redmi 5, the successor to one of Xiaomi's most successful budget phones, the Redmi 4. It's also one of the least expensive phones to sport a tall display. So is this the budget offering we've all been waiting for? Is the Redmi 5 the budget phone to buy? Let's find out in today's video. This is Sundar, you're watching C4E Tech, and here's our full review of the Xiaomi Redmi 5. And you know what? We're also giving this one away. Click this card for more details. Before we begin, if you end up finding this video useful, hit thumbs up, subscribe to C4E Tech and click on the bell icon. Just when we got bored of seeing pretty much the same front design on almost all budget phones, Xiaomi's done something to catch our attention. This is the first Redmi to sport an 18:9 display. Now this is a 5.7-inch IPS LCD display. The resolution is 1440 by 720 pixels, or as most people call it, HD+. That means the pixel density is about 280 pixels per inch. Not very sharp, but given the price, can't really complain, right? The color reproduction is good, the viewing angles are excellent, the panel appears reasonably bright and hence posts no issues while using outdoors. What made way for this huge display here is the trimmed down bezels. A 76% screen-to-body ratio for a budget phone is quite respectable, in my opinion. Thanks to this display, Redmi now looks fresher than ever. The capacitive keys are gone, which I personally am not comfortable with, but yeah, it's understandable. We've now got on-screen keys, another first for the Redmi series. I'm not gonna delve into the placements, we've covered them in detail in our unboxing, so check that out. Short version, the back is made of metal, and it's nothing new for the Redmi series. Looks good, it's quite functional as well. The fingerprint scanner is found to the back, could comfortably reach it. It worked great. By great, I mean it was fast and accurate. Even faster than the scanner found on the Mi A1. The buttons felt tactile. It's also worth mentioning that the 3.5mm headphone jack and IR blaster have been retained. Nice to see Xiaomi retaining two features that have been disappearing on a lot of phones these days. There's a hybrid slot to the left, you can pop in two SIMs or a SIM and a micro SD card. I had absolutely no issues with cellular reception and call quality. It does support Geo-VoLTE out of the box. Xiaomi's gone with that ancient micro USB port though. It's found to the bottom along with the loudspeaker. I was quite impressed by the speaker's output. It was really loud. The quality too was admirable for the segment. The Redmi 5 is heavier than its predecessor, but you cannot really feel it. It's just 7 grams heavier, and that's despite the display being much larger, the phone being taller and wider too. The reason? Xiaomi shaved off 1mm with thickness. Again, how? They reduced the battery capacity by 800 mAh. My initial impressions when we unboxed the phone was, wow, I could use this phone with one hand. But guys, after using it for about 2 weeks, I kinda changed my mind. Don't get me wrong, it's not as bad as the Redmi 5 Plus for single-handed usage, but it still felt a tad too big, especially when I wanted to reach the top of the display. Yes, even with my abnormally huge, taller than iPhone 8 Plus hands. Not really cribbing about it, I just felt the need to mention this here, since the budget Redmi lineup has always been about the small form factor, easy one-handed usage. And I just want to let you know that if you're gonna buy this phone expecting the same, you're not gonna feel as comfortable as you did while using one of the older devices in the Redmi lineup. There are other things that might make you forget about it though, like the chip underneath. It's a significant improvement in terms of both performance and efficiency. Unlike the Snapdragon 435 chip found on the Redmi 4, the Redmi 5's 450 chip is built on the 14nm manufacturing technology, meaning it's much more efficient. Add to it the fact that the display resolution is just HD+, the Redmi 5, despite sporting just a 3300 mAh battery compared to its predecessor's 4100 mAh unit, managed to last 2 full days on a single charge, consistently through my 2 weeks of testing. And we are talking about moderate to heavy usage here. My routine includes a lot of social media loitering, phone calls for 30 minutes, streaming media for an hour or two, checking mails, a lot of push notifications, some casual gaming, and occasional use of cameras. The battery life here was seriously impressive. But Sundar, does that also mean the performance took a hit? No, I don't think so. The Snapdragon 450 chip offers 25% better CPU and GPU performance over the 435 chip. In fact, the 450 and the 625 use the same Adreno 506 GPU. And given the lower resolution display, even with intense titles like Asphalt Extreme, I faced little to no issues. The performance was fairly smooth and responsive. Most day-to-day tasks were carried out quite easily as well. Apps opened up quick, scrolling through my Twitter or Instagram feed felt reasonably smooth. Even moderately intense tasks like media streaming and photo editing were handled just fine. It's just fascinating when I realize how far budget phones have come, how much they've evolved over the years. Anyway, moving on, unlike on the Redmi 5 Plus, the RAM management here was okay. With limited number of apps in the background, the Redmi 5 had no issues, it didn't reload any app. But shoving more than 8 or 10 apps into the background did cause issues. And that's expected, there's only so much the 2 gigs of RAM could handle, right? Note that there is a 3 gig RAM variant as well, and that might perform a tad better. As far as software goes, the Redmi 5 is running on MIUI 9 built on top of Android 7 Nougat. There are so many nifty little features MIUI 9 brings with it. Here's a card to our video on the top 14 features. Do check it out for more information. Apart from the regular features, Xiaomi's added a full screen mode in settings. I don't know why it's placed under button and gesture shortcuts though. Had a hard time finding it. Anyway, this makes sure enabled apps will make use of the entire screen real estate. Moving on, we at C4E Tech were really interested to check out the camera performance. Because on paper, the 12 megapixel f2.2 camera with 1.25 micron sized pixels sounded very familiar. It reminded us of the primary camera on the Mi A1. So is this the same sensor? Turns out it's not. Turns out we were just being a little too greedy. Anyway, the Redmi 5 has the exact same pair of cameras found on its elder sibling. So let's see what Ash had to say about the camera performance in his Redmi 5 Plus review.
Under good lighting conditions, this camera fared quite well. The images turned out sharp, the detail levels were admirable for a phone in this segment. Look at this image. You can see the registration number of this vehicle. And here with the petals, we can see a lot of detail. Given the f2.2 aperture, the bokeh or the background blur isn't very strong. The color reproduction is okay at best. This flower looks markedly different from what it was in reality. The dynamic range, again, that's just about average, but there is a significant improvement when HDR is turned on, so can't really complain. You can see that for yourself. All the details lost in the highlights are brought right back. Under low light, the quality does deteriorate, but the images aren't too bad. Yes, the camera struggles to capture enough light, rendering dark images with a lot of noise as a result. But then for the price, the pictures are more than acceptable. Most images that I shot turned out usable. The 5 megapixel selfie camera fared reasonably well too. There's a good amount of detail and the colors are okay. There is one LED to the front which lights up when the phone detects a dark scene, and it does do its job. It helps a fair bit in dim lighting conditions. As far as video goes, the Redmi 5 Plus can shoot Full HD videos at 30 frames per second. Of course, there is no image stabilization of any sort, hence the jitters. Well, that is a disappointment. I could have probably seen past that. What really annoyed me is that the camera kept hunting for focus. This has been an issue across a lot of Xiaomi's budget phones, and it is just unacceptable really. Xiaomi has kind of let this issue fester for over 2 years now. What are you doing, Xiaomi? Anyway, the quality of the footage itself is okay. Sharp to an extent, has average detail levels and decent colors. The dynamic range is reasonably wide. And that's it for the cameras.
I did test the Redmi 5's camera separately as well, and I too faced the focus hunting issue, which, like I said, is a disappointment given that Xiaomi is probably aware of the issue for a while now and yet hasn't done anything about it. Anyway, let's now talk price. The Redmi 5 is available exclusively in China and is rumored to be extended to global markets in the second half of February. And global markets should include India as well, since Xiaomi's traditionally brought their mainstream Redmi phones here. Like I mentioned earlier, the Redmi 5 comes in 2 RAM storage variants. The 216 variant is priced at 799 yuan, which is around $120 or 8,000 Indian rupees. And the 332 variant is priced at 899 yuan, which is approximately $140 or 9,000 Indian rupees. 2 gigs of RAM and 16 gigs of storage in 2018 doesn't really sound appealing to me. I'm sure it doesn't sound any better to you. So let's take that out of the equation, unless you're on a super tight budget, in which case this is as good as it gets. The 332 variant seems to offer great value for money. But here's the thing. If you can afford to pay a little bit more, you get the larger sibling, the Redmi 5 Plus, which has a little better chip and a larger display with a higher resolution. Everything else is pretty much the same. Of course, since it's a larger phone with a larger display, it has a higher capacity battery, but the battery life is quite similar, and it's noticeably heavier as well. Okay, now, enough of stating the obvious. Guys, whether to buy the Redmi 5 or the 5 Plus, I feel it's a matter of personal preference. If you're on a strict budget and cannot afford to pay more for the Plus variant, or if you really badly want the smaller form factor, then pick up the Redmi 5. If you want a larger display or a sharper display or slightly better performance, pick up the 5 Plus. Both are excellent phones and you cannot possibly go wrong with either of them. That's it for my take on the Xiaomi Redmi 5. Do you agree with what I've had to say about it? Or do you have a different perspective? I'd love to know what you think, so please leave a comment down below. And while you're there, hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to C4E Tech for more videos like this. Do this to make sure you get notified each time we upload a new video. If you know anybody who's looking to buy a phone in this segment, do share this video with them. Thanks a lot for watching. This here is Sundar, leaving for the moment. Have a great day.